Asvatthama was a bona fide son of Dronacharya and Kripi, but because he had degraded himself to a lower status of life, it was proper to treat him as an animal and not as a Brahman. Om Agyan Timarandasya Yamana Sadakya Shakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manodisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagravatam Vidhantam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Sadhakam Vidhamscha He Krishna Karunasindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopi Kanta Radha Namostate Takta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Pranamami Vanchakapatruyacha Kripasubhyecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Srivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see that Arjuna's anger was extreme. His eyes like two red bowls of copper. So here Arjuna's anger is glorified and Asvatthama's anger is condemned. Because Asvatthama was acting on the bodily platform of life. He was concerned with his own position ultimately. It was his father who had been maltreated in his judgment, and therefore he had been maltreated. Right? It touched him directly. So Asvatthama's anger was self-centered, whereas Arjuna's anger was completely selfless. Arjuna was dedicated to upholding Dharma, and when he saw that Asvatthama in a brutal way broke the principles of Dharma, then that upset Arjuna very, very much, because his whole being was dedicated to upholding Dharma. Not only as a sense of duty, but as something that he had placed his faith in. Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, was not only upholding Dharma because this is a Kshatriya's duty, but he had deep faith in Dharma. And therefore, he became angry. Otherwise, if it was just a duty, he said, well, okay, let's get the guy, arrest him, and so on. But no, he got emotionally involved because he had the highest esteem for Dharma. He had great faith in Dharma. He saw that this is directly the will of the Supreme Lord. So how can we neglect it? In that way, Arjuna was seeing himself as an agent of the Supreme Will and functioning within the Supreme Plan. And therefore, his anger was completely appropriate. His anger came at the right time for the right purpose, and therefore it was no objection. There was no objection to it. It was not an obstacle. So such anger is all right. Therefore, we are not condemning anger per se. So in this narration, we find two types of anger: the anger we condemn, the self-centered anger of Asvatthama, and the anger made in sacrifice coming from Arjuna. Then the next major point that is made is the point that although Asvatthama was the son of Gautami, Gautami refers to his mother, who came in the line of Gautama Muni, and in other words, a very exalted lineage. Although he came from both father's and mother's side, from a very exalted family lineage, a family lineage of Brahmanas, still Asvatthama was not a Brahmana. Because Asvatthama yasya yalakshanam proktam pumsavam vanadivijam jakam yad anyadrapi drishyeta tattinaya vinyajased. He was acting like an animal, it is described here. He was killing children in their sleep. I mean, that's no longer, that's an animal. Then one has come to be below human stage. So therefore, he deserved to be bound with ropes. So this establishes that one is classified within the particular varnas as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, not by birth, but by quality, by behavior, by qualification. And that's the verse I quoted. One is considered within the four varnas according to one's quality of behavior. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Naham Vipra Nachanara Patiya Napi Vaishya Sudra Naham Varni Nachagriya Patiya Novanastya Tirva Kintu Projanikita Paramananda Punamritabder Gopi Bhartapada Kamalayor Dasana Dasana Das. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not considering himself as belonging to any varna or any ashram. He was simply the servant of the Lord. So that is the pure transcendental platform. Varna ashram, therefore, is not a permanent identity. It is a temporary identity that we assume. Temporarily we situate ourselves in an ashram and then follow the codes of behavior of that ashram. Temporarily we situate ourselves in a particular occupation, like Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and take on codes of behavior. So there's an external system of certain codes of behavior that elevate us. And basically, the Brahmana and the Kshatriyas, they're dedicated to Dharma. They are basically then dedicated to sacrifice. So not their personal desire, no, they live by a sense of duty. I was reading a book on human rights, and in that book on human rights, there was one point made, and it is said that in the West, the Western worldview, it's all about what is my right? What is my right? And in the Eastern, in the Indian worldview, it is what is my duty? And it was really nicely put. It's not new, it's not that that book came up with this idea. We all know the principle of Dharma is the predominant element of Vedic culture, but it was nice the way they phrased it. So that's why I'm quoting it. Yes, Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, was acting upon a sense of duty. A Brahmana is acting on a sense of duty. A Vaishya is a business person, is always seeing means of making money and so on. A Vaishya is also supposed to act according to duty. He knows duty, he knows Dharma, but when it comes to profit The choice between profit and dharma. What can you do? Then take the profit and be dharmic tomorrow. Yeah? That's Vaishya. What can you do? Grab the money and we'll worry about it. Tomorrow again, dharma. Sudra, basically dharma is a life of prescribed duty, a life of regulative principles. And a Sudra says, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it. No, so I can't relate to it because I don't feel it. That's Sudra. That's basically Sudra. So feelings are okay, certainly. Feelings should not be denied. Feelings should not be, suppressed most of the time. But sometimes they should, right? When you get anger to the point of like, I'm going to kill somebody, you better suppress your feelings, right? And that would be really an appropriate time to control them. So feelings cannot rule. Feelings must be judged, and some are appropriate, and some should be tempered. We cannot just switch them off. Yeah, so this is the wrong feeling, wrong time, switch off. It doesn't exactly work like that, but control now, temper, calm down, cool down this feeling, because this feeling is not anukul, it is not favorable. So that is dharma. So Arjuna, and as a kshatriya and brahmanas, they always act on this sense of duty before anything. But I said the Vaishya, business person, what to do, sometimes choose for profit, and Sudra, just like basically whatever the mind and senses, whatever the feelings dictate, that makes sense. Nothing else makes sense. Therefore, not too many regulative principles for a Sudra, but then also not too much wealth for a Sudra in Vedic culture. Sudras were then assisting. They were more simple people, living in simple facilities. They were not getting a lot of money, so that they also not misuse it. Because it said if one would give such a person who has no sense of principle, who has no sense of duty, give him a lot of money, and he'll just get drunk or whatever, spend it on prostitutes or whatever degraded activity may come. So in this way, Vedic culture was a culture aimed at upliftment. Now it's a different culture. Now we're living in the modern culture and everyone has his rights. And we are all equal. And everyone therefore has a full right to enjoy, basically. And we have to share this equally. And that's basically that's enlightened life. That's an enlightened vision. We all have a right to enjoy, and we share the enjoyment equally, and we work together to increase the enjoyment. Now you're talking. This is enlightened society. So, yeah, okay. But why is it when we are working so hard to do all these things that it's still not all sweet? There's a beautiful lawn over there, and I could just imagine how you can sit in the shade a little later at breakfast time when the sun is out and have a bit of a picnic on the grass, and hey, life is good. Depends. If you would become small, if you would just become shrunken in size, and you would walk into that grass and it would be like a forest, what would you see? You would see animals like dressed up like tanks, and one attacks the other and walks away with the legs of another. That grass looks really peaceful. But when you become small, it's Kurukshetra. That's what I'm telling you. That peaceful, nice, idyllic lawn, if we look at it from a micro perspective, it's a war zone. Tanks and all kinds of things. So, enjoy, yeah, enjoy, and then there's jaws. Yeah, that's also there. Enjoy. Yeah, it is not just so. That is ultimately, there is optimism and pessimism, right? Optimism is basically looking at the world and trying to color it up. Add a little pink. Little pink here, little pink there, little color. Looks beautiful, this world. Right? Pessimism is, okay, black. Let's make it all black. And realism is what it is. And realism is, it's both good and bad. Anything in this world. Anything. No matter what it is. So, in this way, the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, they are trained in this kind of knowledge. And therefore, they are learning to distance themselves from their feelings and to become like an uninvolved observer of themselves and of the world. And in this way, they can be neutral and they can see just with a sober mind, happiness and distress. But the Vaishya wants profit. The Vaishya wants advantage. So the Vaishya is always looking opportunities. Yes, oh yes. Don't let an opportunity go by. We can score here. Looks good. Yeah, calculating. It's always calculating for the favorable position. That is the Vaishya approach. Sudra approach is live for the here and now. No long-term vision at all. Just grab what you grab now. Right? All, and then who worries about Ron, Right? That is something else. Right? No. Now, you're young now. Don't waste this opportunity. Grab it. But should you build up a life, forget it, just go for it, mate. Go for it. As much as you can. Life is short. So that is the Sudra philosophy. So each of these four classes have their own outlook and their own philosophy and their own approach in life. So the Vedic culture is putting the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas on the top of society, the Brahmanas on the head, and the Kshatriyas to rule. So on the top, it puts a sense of duty, a long-term vision, Sriyama Charanam Sada, to act for the long-term benefit. And then, but that is very different than the modern culture. Right? In the modern culture, money talks. Right? It's the multi-billionaires that control the world. Yeah. They are the ones that, it's money that ultimately rules. So it's the Vaishyas, it's the business people that are in control. So the business people and the Sudras are on top. Yeah. And then Brahmanas, people who study scriptures and so on, get real, will you? You get off that sort of butterfly platform, deal with reality. And philosophizing all day, all kinds of intellectual ideas, do something. Right? Really, bludger, parasite, right? do something. Yeah, basically, you're a sycophant. A sycophant is basically a creature that lives at the expense of others. It's a nice word. Not elephant, but sycophant. Yeah. All right, a bit sick, in other words. And that's the vision of such kind of people. And therefore, how many times did they tell us when we met people on the street, go get a job? And how many times did they say it? Go get a job. Yeah. So that's glorified. So in the modern culture, basically the Vaishya and the Sudra, they're glorified. Because they deal with real things. They deal with real things now, A Black and Decker, There you go. Now you're doing something, mate. Something real. You're drilling a hole. Get your hands dirty. All day long sitting philosophizing. What is the purpose of life? It's because you guys just outright lazy. That's the problem. Just don't like to stick your hands in the dirt, is it? Grow your own food, do something honest, instead of sitting there, what is the cause of life, you got something better to do. Life is life, It is what it is. Deal with it. Take responsibility. Yes. Instead of sitting there daydreaming and philosophizing, What's the purpose of life? What's the goal of life? It's pretty obvious, Yeah. Get it together. Do something. Isn't it? Yeah. Makes sense. Does it? On one level. But then, get it together. And then the philosopher says, good luck to you, get it together. And you've been trying now, for 50 years, if age is showing its signs, right? And still you didn't get it together. And why is that? Why are you not getting it together? What's wrong? Is it you? Is it just bad luck? But your lucky day may come, horse's hoof you have, clover 4, got all the paraphernalia, everything. Luck will surely come your way. Rub the Buddha's belly. There you go. You're going to be lucky. Is it? Is it a matter of luck? But then, one day your luck will be over. And then, doctor, please give me 1 more year. Sorry, sir. Time's up. What can you do? I'm writing a novel at the moment. It's a spiritual novel. And it begins, I meet this man on a plane, and the man on the plane is basically, we're flying into New York, and his business suit, and suddenly he comes out of the blue and says, I had a dream. I said, sir, tell me all about it. He said, a dream where the whole world can live united in peace. I said, brother, I'm with you. He said, yes, a world without religion. I said, what about me? Then his face became serious. He gave me an intense look and he said, yes, you are a problem. I was a problem. A bit later, he slips me his card. The card says that he is a big lawyer in the United Nations. And as we get down off the plane, he says, give me a call. All right, our ways part. That night, I have a dream. And in the dream, we're again on an airport, this time in a departure lounge. And there's a man with a black suit. And this man with the black suit, he sees a white spot on his suit and he licks his hand and tries to rub it off. And then he gets into it like a cat. He keeps on licking his hand and just smears saliva over his entire suit. I mean, I'm looking at him, you know, I'm not saying anything, he's a stranger, but I'm looking at it like, incredulously, what on earth are you doing? He sees my eyes. He says, yes, yes, cleansing is what I do. I say, who are you? He said, you don't know? I said, no, I have no idea. He says, I am death personified. Oh. He said, yes, I take many forms. And he changes different forms and like that, and to show me that he's really death personified. The next moment, he takes my form and then says, yes, you're also wearing one of my costumes. Yes, you're also part of this masquerade. And then he takes the form of the lawyer. End of the dream and end of the preview to the book. The act is finished, and then you can read it. Anyway, so it's exciting though, huh? But it's a fact that we are all part of this man. We're all wearing a costume of death. So get it together. Get it together, man. This is a world we're here meant to enjoy, and we just cooperate all together and make it a beautiful world where we all can enjoy. What's that noise? What's that nagging noise there in the background? Oh, nothing serious, just an ambulance. What's that? So get it together. Just get it together, fix it. No, let there be a world, no more hospitals, a little more genetic engineering, and it will be done. Prabhupada said, post-dated check, I kick on your face. And sometimes Prabhupada was strong in his words. In the spirit of Lord Nityananda, who actually is known that when there was a Buddhist who we met in Kashmir, he asked that Buddhist for some water and the Buddhist didn't respond. And Nityananda did respond by kicking him in the face. I'm sorry to bring, I hope there are no Buddhists here who might feel offended. But the point was though, when the opportunity is there to serve the Lord, we should not miss. We should not miss in the name of spirituality. We should not miss that opportunity. So in order to give him some mercy, the Lord touched him with his lotus foot. So when Prabhupada says, I kick on your face, that's great mercy. Kick. Please kick any time. One more. Again. Yeah, what can we say? But who can see like that? Only one who is a transcendentalist, only one of these madmen of Lord Chaitanya who's addicted to the mercy and always eager. Only such a person can somehow or other rise to that transcendental platform. Otherwise, we're going to waste our time and trying to fix a broken machine. I mean, my first car was an old Volkswagen Beetle. It had a hole in it, in the bottom, but anyway, fixed that with ferro cement, you know, some chicken wire and some cement. In order to start it, it had a special theft-proof start system, because in order to start it, you had to take a hammer and hit behind the right wheel, right, to get the start motor cranked up, and then, it would start. And then it would drive fine, really. Absolutely no problem. But that trick with the hammer was absolutely required. And he said, well, why didn't you fix it? I mean, look, there is a point where it doesn't make sense. And you fix it a little, but some screws fall out on the other side. It's basically a broken car. That's what it was. And a broken car, there is a point where there's always something broken. Always. And somehow or other it keeps on. It still sort of goes down the road. That's about it. But always broken. You know these kind of cars very well. We call it a bomb in Australia. It's a bomb, right? A bomb is a bomb. It's always broken. So the material world is a bomb. It's always broken. It can't be fixed. You fix one side and the other side's already broken. You just keep on trying to fix the material world. It will never end. It's a bottomless pit. So this whole philosophy, this is a place where we enjoy, and we're just all going to cooperate together to enjoy to the max. It's broke. It's broke. And someone's going to break his leg. Or someone's going to break your nose. If you smash in my car, I smash in your face. You seen the bumper sticker? When you can read it, you're too close to that car. So, what to do? What to do? This is the material world. It will not work. It will not work. So, Vaishya Sudras, they say, yeah, no, that's true, it will not work. Yeah. But they keep on trying anyway to make it work. Only the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, they have a certain amount of detachment. And they also want to enjoy, but within limits. They limit themselves. They can actually limit themselves, control themselves. That is what, so no one will blame Asvatthama for being angry when his father was tricked. When his father was tricked and then he was killed in the battle. Basically, I told the story a few days ago, but not everyone heard it. I'll tell it again. They made Yudhisthira, who never spoke a lie, whose chariot didn't touch the ground. Yudhisthira, who was known as truth personified. They made him say, Asvatthama is dead, the son of Dronacharya, Asvatthama. Asvatthama is dead. When Yudhisthira said it, then it had to be true. But what they did, they killed an elephant, Asvatthama, made Yudhisthira say, Asvatthama, the elephant is dead. And then, as they said elephant, they blew these conch shells really loud, just like they do it here in the morning at Mangalarti, which is like some of them deafening. So it was so loud that they could never hear the elephant. They could never hear it. So Asvatthama, pause, is dead. That's for Dronacharya. He gave up the will to fight. Then he lost. So that was treacherous. And for that, Asvatthama had a right to be angry. He had a right to be angry. Because it was manipulative. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair fight. So it was technically not a lie, but it was manipulative and misleading. So he was right to be angry, but he was wrong when he didn't control his anger. That was the point. There he was wrong. And therefore, such people who cannot control their anger, they must be controlled by people who can control their anger. Not that the ones who cannot control their anger have a finger close to the nuclear power button. Not to mention any names. That's not a good idea. No, there should be someone who is sense-controlled. Arjuna was sense-controlled. He could invoke nuclear powers with his mantras, but he could also retract them, and he was not just using it in a whim, but Ashwatthama, in a moment, his anger became uncontrolled and pushed the nuclear button. Well, there you go. So, therefore, such people can never be in leadership positions. People in leadership positions have to be in control of their mind and their senses, and have to be able to dedicate a life to duty. Then society will work. Otherwise, leaders are going to make a mess. Leaders are going to push their power around, and leaders are going to have a little bit of Vaishya tendency, and when it comes to duty and profit, they put something in their pocket. And what can be done? So in that way, we can see how this verse, this particular passage of Bhagavatam is solving the problems of the world. And that is why Prabhupada said Bhagavatam is a book should be placed in every house on the planet, because it can solve all the problems, individually and collectively. It can sort out society, and it can sort out our individual issues. So Arjuna was helping Ashwatthama to get over his anger issues, and he did it very effectively. And that's a fact. People with anger issues should not have free reign, because then they make a mess of this world. Alright, that was, I think, enough. Any comments? Please.
This is a question from the other day.
Okay.
You said that Radha, when he surrendered everything, that was actually not like from the heart, that was just coming from the mind. So, that
mixed at least, mixed maybe. There was something in the heart also. You're getting a mic. Please, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So, if one comes to that Atman-Vedana, that's kind of like our goal, to give everything to Krishna.
Okay.
So, what I'm wondering is, normally when someone reaches that platform of Atman-Vedana, it implies you have to give your heart. If you want to surrender, you do it with the heart, and then everything follows.
That's true. That's what we always understood from it. Yeah? I also thought it was like that, Atman-Vedanam, that meant you give your whole soul, your whole being, surrender everything. But then I came across a passage in the Nectar of Devotion, which explained it differently and in more detail, and said, no, actually it is still external. Yeah? And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is described with Sanskrit terms, so I went back to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and looked it up there then, and found that there it is said there's Atmanivedam and Prapati, Sanskrit term, and that the Atmanivedam was that you fully give everything, mind, body, words, everything we give, surrender. But still internally we have not become the full servant of the Supreme Lord. And that actually only that happens in the second stage then. So first, externally putting everything in place, and then still that internal surrender has to come. And that was then called Prapati. And so that's where I got it from. Yeah. And, it's pretty bona fide souls. What can I say? But it was also for me something from, hey, when I saw that, I also went like, hey, I I never thought of it like that. So I noted it, and that's why it stuck in my head. That's why it came out in the class.
And then from that action of surrender, but without the full heart, then what is the method to sort of put the heart behind that?
The method is to, there's of course the regulated process of devotional service, and the nature of devotion is describing that devotional service in 64 limbs, right? And that one should act according to these 64 limbs. And then it begins with Guru Padasraya. Yeah? It begins with taking shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And it is there where that transformation has to come. In the beginning, we serve out of duty. But in due course of time, because we actually feel helped by our spiritual master, we actually feel the benefit, we start to develop love, and we start to serve out of love. Right? So that's where it has to come, that we really bring the heart in the service to the spiritual master. Because he's close, he's in our world, whereas Krishna, we can't see him directly face to face in the same way, we can't talk to him. We can't go into Krishna's room and say, right here, we can go on the altar, but we can't go and say, oh, Krishna, please help me to sort this thing out, I don't know what to do. But we can do that with a spiritual master. So there that love will develop in the service to our spiritual master. And then it will come with Krishna. Anyway, that's what I think. Ado Guru Parasraya. Is that alright? Rupa.
It's on.
Maharaj, was Ashvatthama known to be a wicked person throughout his life, or was it just due to circumstance by Krishna's arrangement that he committed such wicked acts?
No one is destined to be wicked. No one. Although some people may take birth as demons like Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, still no one is doomed to be evil. Everyone has an opportunity to choose. So Ashvatthama was blessed, greatly blessed. His father was a Brahmana, exalted. His mother was a great exalted Brahmana. Got so many blessings, so many good sanskaras, so many good things in his life. You want me to give the first grain to your baby after the class, right? I'm sure Ashvatthama, he got the first grain in the proper setting and all these things. Right? So he got all the blessings. So he was blessed, greatly blessed. But somehow or other, somewhere along the line, he went off the rail. And I haven't really put a zoom lens on that. At what point did Ashvatthama go off the rail? Then you have to go into the Mahabharata, not just in a summarized version, but in the full translation at least, or into the Sanskrit, and really check it out. The Ganguly edition, 13 volumes, you can go through it, take out all the parts about Ashvatthama and see what you get. You can try a shortcut in the Puranic Encyclopedia and have a look there, under Ashvatthama, and see if you find something there. There's a lot of homework to do if you want to know the point, where Ashvatthama went off the rail. Right? So, I didn't do that homework, but he surely went off the rail somewhere. But he definitely was on the rail at one point. That's a signal. That's a signal. Actually, before you do the first grain ceremony of the kids, you should chant Sari Vijaya. So maybe we should just end it, and that gives me a chance to pack my bag because I'm leaving. So put that microphone down.
We've actually done the first grand ceremony in Mayapur.
Then it's over.
The books and the money.
The books and the money. Yeah, it's like, it's just the books and the money.
You'll choose both.
You hope he's going to take the money or the books. What's the hope? What do you hope?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Either
He's a
big
book
collector or a big buyer. Okay, well, is it set up?
No, we've got
Can you do it quick?
chant it here. So we'll
Yeah, do it quick. Because I have to go on back. I have to pack my bag. Okay, so Rupa's
have
gonna...
someone with Mridanga and kirtans.
Yeah, you have enough money or something, or everyone has to chip in? Not too bad. Alright. Okay, so we're watching. Especially it's being filmed. He is our witness. Okay, yeah, little coins. Okay, go for it. Oh yeah, you may have to put a phone there also. No, don't do that. Don't put a phone. Okay.
Kirtan?
All right, good. Let him go. No, that's distraction. Don't do that, kid. See, now you looked at the kirtan.
Yeah,
You're trying to make it too Krishna conscious. He was going straight for the thing. And now he just looks at the kid. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's what you get when you go for the money and makes you cry. He went for the money. He just tripped over. He was trying to get the money. He tripped over the chada. Okay. He gets a second chance. Let him go. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. There's no doubt. He knows what he wants. Okay, Rupa. It's clear. So may you collect a lot of money and give it all to Krishna. So now teach him to put some money in the donation box.
Give it to Maharaj Krishna Baba.
Give it to Krishna. I was staying in one house and there was a 3-year-old kid and with a coin, and then the coin dropped and it rolled under my bed. And then the kid, it wasn't bedtime, the kid went to sleep. Next morning the kid comes into my room and says, I want my money. Whoa. That's serious.
With interest.
Okay, Srimad-bhagavatam.
Kadamba Kanana Swami.
And he's taking the money home, we can see that.